Hi, this is Ron Kelly, Public Information Officer for Walton County. The Walton County Board of County Commissioners opened their March 24 regular meeting by recognizing several outstanding students and citizens. Walton County Emergency Management Director Jeff Goldberg asked the board to approve a resolution proclaiming April 2026 as National Volunteer Month, which was approved. He then recognized two volunteers, Rick Royston and Krista Radke, for their exemplary volunteer service to emergency management. District 2 Commissioner Danny Glidewell introduced Eagle Scout Margot Palmer, who was granted approval to design and build an informational kiosk and located at Lakewood Park in North Walton County, which is Florida's highest point. District 1 Commissioner Dan Curry led the board in recognizing the Freeport High School wrestling coach, Carrie Nick, and three team members, Chase and Jacob Justice and Maxwell Brognias, who had recently competed at the Florida High School Wrestling Tournament in Kissimmee, Florida. Health Officer Holly Holt, Florida Department of Health in Walton County, requested approval for the county commissioners to purchase a medical modular clinic and then be reimbursed by DOH Walton County through grant funds awarded from the Health Resources and Services Administration, and this was approved. Supervisor of Elections Ryan Messer requested the commissioners approve a resolution for modifications to certain voting precinct boundaries as recommended by the Supervisor of Elections office. This included adopting revised precinct maps, authorizing implementation, and providing an effective date. This was approved. County Administrator Brian Kellenberger requested Board Chairman Brad Drake sign a resolution authorizing the Director of Building Construction and Maintenance to obtain any applicable statutory exemptions for contractor license requirements for the department's employees and apply on behalf of Walton County for any applicable building permits on construction, remodeling, repair, and other improvements at a cost of less than $100,000 located on county-owned property. In other words, to improve speed and efficiency, routine department documents relating to building permits on construction, remodeling, and repair of county-owned buildings and property on projects that cost less than $100,000 can now be signed off on by Building Construction Maintenance Director Brad Alford instead of waiting to be presented during commission meetings. This was approved. Administrator Kellenberger also requested direction regarding enforcement of political signs within county rights-of-way along tourist corridors. Following discussion, commissioners approved the placement of political signs no larger than 18 by 24 inches in the county right-of-way from the date of candidacy pre-qualification until 15 days after the conclusion of the election. Planning and Development Director Stephen Schoen gave an update and requested direction as it relates to proposed Land Development Code text amendments designed to ensure compatible development patterns within existing neighborhoods. Commissioners gave direction for Director Schoen and County Attorney Clay Atkinson to study Panama City and Bay County ordinances and meet with commissioners individually to discuss and then incorporate commissioner input into a proposed ordinance. This will then be brought back to the April 28th BCC meeting for consideration and adoption. Public Works Director Buddy Wright requested approval of change order number 1 to the contract with Three Rivers Construction for the County Highway 83A or Bay Loop Timber Bridges renovation, increasing the contract amount by $3,360. This was approved. Director Wright also requested approval to award an invitation to bid to the lowest, most responsive, and responsible bidder, Construction Materials of Northwest Florida, Inc. This will be for on-site concrete crushing with multi-size aggregate output and contaminant removal in the amount of the base bid of $5,612 with unit line item pricing to apply for services identified in the bid schedule. This was approved. Beach Operations Director Josh Urban sought direction regarding a spray neuter program proposed by 38 Cats. While the agency usually focuses on feral cats, this program is designed for cat owners unable to afford the spay and neuter fees at veterinarian offices. Following discussion, commissioners approved the proposal as presented and asked Chief Financial Officer Melissa Thomason to identify appropriate funding in the amount of $7,500 from county funds. County Attorney Clay Atkinson requested approval to schedule and advertise a special meeting for executive session regarding Piece of Paradise, LLC versus Walton County. This was approved. Atkinson also requested approval to schedule a second executive session regarding Samuel A. Osborne versus Walton County. This was also approved. The Commissioners held a public hearing to consider an ordinance amending ordinances 2018-14 and 2018-24, thereby amending the Walton County Land Development Code, specifically Chapter 4, Resource Protection Standards, Restrictions on Development within Coastal Dune Lake Protection Zone, to provide additional protection to the eastern lake outfall and to provide a supermajority vote to make further modifications of this section, providing for conflict, severability, and an effective date. The ordinance was approved. A second motion was also approved, which imposes a moratorium on the development of these specific parcels until the board has had an opportunity to identify nonprofit partners to hold these parcels in a conservation easement. A second request was made to approve an ordinance amending Ordinance 2018-29 and amending the Walton County Land Development Code, specifically Chapter 8, Neighborhood Plan Overlay Districts. Commissioners decided to continue this request until the May 26 meeting. A third request to approve amending Ordinance 2019-01, amending the Walton County Land Development Code for the Inlet Beach Neighborhood Plan to provide for clarification and correction as to the exclusion of certain properties north of U.S. Highway 98 and to those land use districts where limited lodging is allowed and prohibited, providing for conflict, severability, and an effective date. This request was also approved to continue until May 26th. As part of a planning and development discussion, Planning Director Stephen Schoen was asked to begin providing quarterly progress reports, with the first being presented to the BCC on April 14th. There was discussion regarding a temporary density moratorium, but no action was taken. District 1 Commissioner Dan Curry led discussion regarding the county's tuition reimbursement policy. Human Resources Director Terry Franksman agreed to meet with commissioners individually to review policy changes and bring back to the board at a future meeting for consideration. Commissioner Curry also brought up the housing and urban development financial shortfall and how it affects Walton County. Local Housing Director Tom Baker explained the situation, noting that many other Florida counties are facing the same problems. Following discussion, commissioners approved funding administrative fees up to $30,000 through the end of the fiscal year as needed to cover any shortfalls and asked staff to bring back potential solutions. Regarding the Inlet Beach Neighborhood Plan, staff requested to continue the item to the May 26 meeting for a second and final reading to adopt it by ordinance. This is to correct a scrivener's error in the Inlet Beach Neighborhood Plan. The continuance to the May 26th meeting was approved. And finally, Carson Lane SSA with rezoning adoption hearing was discussed with a request to approve the adoption by ordinance. The property is in District 5, north of Carson Lane, east of North Orange Avenue, and south of Walton Palm Road. This was approved.